the Israel-Hamas war continues, people took to the streets to protest.
Stop the killing, stop the hate! Stop the killing, stop the hate!
Toronto today saw 4 pro-Palestinian rallies in support of people in the Gaza Strip.
We're in a housing crisis. We need more housing units, but using the strong mayor powers is really taking a drastic measure.
4 plexes are back in Mississauga. Mayor Bonnie Crombie now says she'll use strong mayor powers to allow for their construction.
Looking forward to enjoying one more game at BMO.
And at the end of an era, after 10 years with the TFC, Captain Michael Bradley will hang up his cleats this weekend. Good evening, I'm Sébastien Saint-François. Tomorrow will mark 2 weeks to the day since the Hamas attack on Israel. That raid killed 1,400 people, while thousands have been killed since then in Israel's strikes on Gaza. Today, here at home, multiple rallies in support of Palestinians took place across the city. Patrick Swadden joins us live from Queen's Park. Patrick, tell us a bit more about what you saw today.
Yeah, Sebastian, as you said, I'm standing right here at Queen's Park where just a few hours earlier, multiple protests converged on this very spot after being held in different locations throughout the city. Now, despite there was one protest held outside Chrystia Freeland's office this morning. There was another at the University of Toronto and another at Toronto Metropolitan University. And while they started in different locations, many of the people in attendance had very similar demands.
Miss Freeland!
Outside Chrystia Freeland's office this morning, demonstrators had clear demands of the Canadian government.
So we're really calling on the Canadian government to stop arming Israel, to stop supporting Israel, and to actually acknowledge that this is an apartheid state that is actually killing thousands of Palestinians.
Gada Sasa is one of the organizers. She says Canada shouldn't just push for a ceasefire, but should sanction Israel.
Just like this government stood to Ukraine against Russian occupation, they need to stand with Palestine against Israeli occupation.
Sasa says she was grateful for the support, even from non-Palestinian community members.
We need a ceasefire, we need to end the siege. Yeah, and we need peaceful negotiations, meaningful peace negotiations that Israel this time followed.
While one man who confronted protesters was removed by police, and others expressed concern with the rally's proximity to a Jewish community center, Anna Lippman, a Jewish woman, says people need to come together for peace.
We're here to build community, Jewish people, Palestinians, all people from Canada.
Palestine, Palestine!
Demonstrations continued throughout the day at both Toronto Metropolitan University and the University of Toronto, while later at Queen's Park, people gathered to make their demands heard, saying Canada needs to support more than just a ceasefire.
We want there to be humanitarian aid allowed into the Gaza Strip, and we want the end of the blockade, of the almost 16-year blockade on the Gaza Strip.
And while many are urging aid to arrive safely in Gaza, others are praying for the return of hostages taken by Hamas during the October 7th attack. In a welcome development, just earlier today, 2 Americans were released. The Red Cross helped secure mother and daughter Judith and Natalie Ronan safe passage. But these 2 women want there to be awareness for the roughly 200 still in captivity.
These are innocent civilians. These are not soldiers.
Jessica Wax and Rivki Rabinowitz spent the day putting up posters of the hostages.
There are little children, they're elderly. We don't know where they are and we want them home. I think more than ever, it's become abundantly clear that we all need to stand together on the side of peace.
Now, Sebastian, while we heard from many different people today, a multitude of different opinions, voices, and demands even, most agree on that last point that they just want there to be peace. They don't want there to be any more bloodshed. Now, there will be some protests held tomorrow, one in Hamilton, one in Brantford, and another right here in Toronto outside the U.S. consulate. Back to you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Patrick. A 17-year-old boy who was struck by a car while fleeing from the police last weekend has now died. It happened last Friday at around 7:30 p.m. in the parking lot of Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan. Investigators say an officer who was patrolling the lot got out of his vehicle after he saw the teenager, quote unquote, behaving suspiciously. This led to a foot chase down Jane Street, where he was later hit by a car. The teen was then rushed to hospital in serious condition and died yesterday afternoon. The Special Investigations Unit has taken over the investigation. They are urging anyone with information to contact them. Now to Mississauga, where Mayor Bonnie Crombie announced today she plans to use her strong mayor powers to override a council decision and allow fourplexes on single-family home lots across the city. This news coming after the feds indicated the city would lose out millions in funding because council had not green-lighted the idea earlier this month. Lorenda Redekop has reaction.
The fight in Mississauga over allowing up to 4 units on single home lots has heated back up. The motion recently failed at City Council on a tie. Today, Mayor Bonnie Crombie, on leave to run for Ontario Liberal leader, issued a mayoral directive. She says she plans to use her strong mayor powers when she returns to council later in the fall to amend the official plan. She directs city staff to start work on the amendments to allow fourplexes on residential lots citywide. The urgency is due to money from the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. Today, the government approved Brampton's application. The amount at stake for Mississauga, an estimated $120 million.
We have not shut the door completely on Mississauga. We have told them, on the basis of the information that we were aware of as recently as yesterday, that we were not in a position to approve their application. The door is not closed, but we were not yet in a position to say yes.
Councillors who voted against fourplexes wanted a staff report first, then public consultation.
It is really unfortunate that the federal government just doesn't see the value of these consultations, that it's forcing us and boxing us into a corner that's, you can either say yes today without consultations or you lose the money.
Well, we had asked staff to get back as quickly as possible. I think very early in the new year, we could have had a report back. We could have scheduled a public meeting.
As for Mayor Crombie using strong mayor powers,
this is the wrong approach to achieve the right outcome. We are in a housing crisis. We need more housing units. Fourplexes have been identified as one approach amongst many, but using the strong mayor powers is really taking a drastic measure that chips away at our democracy in significant ways.
He says council could have found other ways to bring the motion back. The fourplex motion could have passed the first time. If Crombie hadn't been on leave, her vote in favor would have broken the tie. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
And now a high-profile Toronto condo project has been placed into a receivership by its biggest lender. After being plagued with delays and setbacks for almost a decade, The One, that's the name of the project, has now been taken over by a court-appointed receiver because the tower's financiers have defaulted on more than $1 billion in loans. The developers broke ground 6 years ago, hoping to build a mixed-use retail, hotel, and residential building. And the price tag for the project had ballooned from $1.4 billion at the outset to more than $2 billion today. In a statement, the developer now says receivership is a welcome decision and should allow for the project's successful completion, with an opening date now planned for 2025 at the earliest. Here's a live look at Toronto on this Friday evening, sitting at 11 degrees and cloudy skies. Nick Cernkovich joins us with a first look at the forecast. Hey, Nick.
Well, of course, the story today was the rain. We've had rain throughout the day, and in fact, it started last night pretty much right on schedule. Now, still looking at a few showers, or at least isolated showers through the overnight period, but most of the heavier stuff has now pushed off to the east. There's a look at our forecast as we move through tomorrow morning. Now, as we head into the afternoon, some very light isolated showers kind of pushing down across the GTA. So we still have the risk of this tomorrow. Certainly not a wash like we saw today. But you might want to take the rain gear just in case if you've got any sort of length of time outside. As we move through Saturday night, though, things begin to clear out, and then Sunday actually looking a little bit better. Today's highs, 14 degrees. Now, to put that in perspective, the average for this time of year, about 12, 13, depending on where you are, so pretty much spot on average. And same story heading into tomorrow, 13 degrees, about a 30% chance of showers. That follows 9 tonight with a few isolated showers as well, and windy. We've got wind gusts up to about 50 kilometers per hour. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just a bit.
Thank you, Nick. And turning now to the ongoing tensions between Canada and India. As you probably remember, 41 Canadian diplomats have already left India, but what's a little less known is that India has also suspended visa services for Canadians, which is leading to long lineups at Brampton's India visa office.
There's a difficult situation for people who have emergencies and older parents and to go back and, just we are hoping things get streamlined and move faster and we are all able to go back and meet our families.
I'm nervous that I have all my tickets booked, all my travel plans, and I might not get my OCI on time.
Lineup is for a service the Indian government did not include in its visa suspension, which is the Overseas Citizens of India card. This card gives the bearer the right to visit India and stay as long as they like, as many times as they want, over the course of their life. The only way to get one is at a BLS international office, and with only 2 offices in the GTA and limited hours of operation, some are waiting in line as early as midnight. People have also been turned away and told to make an appointment online. Back in Toronto, a refugee hiring event was held at Metro Hall today.
They're highly educated, they come here, they want to work so that they can make a contribution, uplift their families and uplift their communities.
This is the 3rd annual Toronto Refugee Hiring Event, which aims to support refugees and help increase access to meaningful employment. The city partnering with World Education Services and Jumpstart Refugee Talent to host the event. Registered candidates are interviewed on site and some will be offered a job on the spot or an opportunity for a second. Welcome back. A bit of sad news today for soccer fans across the country. Soccer legend Christine Sinclair has announced she's retiring from the women's national team at the end of the year. Sinclair will leave international competition as the world's all-time leading scorer among both women and men.
Just knowing that the team and the sport is in a better place than when I joined the national team, and the fight is not over just because I'll be done playing for the national team. I will still continue to fight for this team.
Sinclair scored a record 190 goals in 327 games in her career with Team Canada. She helped Canada to no less than 6 World Cup appearances and an Olympic gold medal in Tokyo in 2021. Under her leadership, the team has also secured a spot in the 2024 Paris Olympics. She also became a vocal advocate for equal pay and treatment. Sinclair will continue to play for the Portland Thorns in the Women's Professional Soccer League. Same type of news, but different team. This weekend will mark the end of an era for Toronto FC. Longtime captain Michael Bradley says he will retire following the team's final game of the season tomorrow. Greg Ross has more on Bradley's decision.
Michael Bradley says he has mixed emotions heading into the final game of his career. But one thing that is clear to him is that he gave everything he had to Toronto FC.
I love this club. I love this city. I have never stopped for one single second in 10 years trying to do everything I could to help us be successful.
Bradley says he made the decision to retire recently.
At the beginning of the season, it wasn't even on my radar. You know, it wasn't something that I was thinking about in any big way.
But he says he was pushed in that direction because of the team's struggles on and off the pitch this season, which included his father being fired as head coach and sporting director in June, with the team sitting in last place.
The way a lot of things went this year meant that something that was initially not really in my thoughts became something that more and more seemed like the best thing.
But the team's recent struggles don't diminish Bradley's impact during his 10 seasons here.
I would say that Michael Bradley is definitely the captain of captains that our team has had. He's been the longest serving and he's achieved the most.
After arriving in 2014, Bradley quickly took on a leadership role, eventually becoming the captain. In 2016, he helped lead the team to an appearance in the MLS final. they'd go on to win the championship the very next season.
They kept that pressure up and they made it back in the 2017 finals and of course won it. And I feel like he was probably more responsible than anyone really knows for keeping that team on track.
His playing days may be coming to an end, but Bradley says he's not quite done with the sport.
Motivated as can be to try to coach and to try to become the best possible coach that I can be, to coach at the highest level I can.
But first, he has one game left to play.
Really proud, really excited, really looking forward to enjoying one more game at BMO, one more game as a player.
TFC will host Orlando City in Bradley's final game. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's get back to Nick now with a look at our extended forecast. Nick, how's it looking?
All right, so we talked about the rainfall earlier on. Of course, if you were outside at any point in the day today, you probably saw it. Let's take another look at this weather story, and this time we're going to focus on temperatures. Now, to put things in perspective, the average for this time of year is about 12, 13 degrees, depending on where you were. 14 is what we hit today. The other side of this is the low. Now, typically around this time of year, we're sitting at overnight lows of around 3 degrees. Now, the last few days, including last night and tonight, we've been well above that average. So I guess you could take this as a bit of a good news story and all that. Nowhere near the records here. Probably don't want to be close to that record. The one we were close to, though, we're looking at rainfall, likely seeing some of those records broken today. Now, not a ton of rain, but generally we don't see that much this time of year. So that's something we'll have to watch for. In terms of the rainfall, still looking at a few isolated showers through tonight. That's kind of clearing out into tomorrow. Now, still about a 30% chance of seeing some light showers through tomorrow. Generally speaking, though, just cloud cover and windy for the day. As we move through Sunday morning, we've still got some showers stretching across. I think some areas to the north of the GTA might actually pick up a little bit of mixed precipitation. This pretty much all clears out. Sunday, actually, late day clearing sky cover, and that leads to sunshine on Monday. But with clear skies, through the overnights also comes some colder temperatures. That'll come up in your 5-day forecast. Still a couple millimeters of rainfall left in some areas, but that's pretty much about it. The story will be with the winds as well. They're going to shift to the northwest. We've got wind gusts up to about 50 kilometers per hour at times through the day on Saturday and also on Sunday as well. 9 degrees through the overnight period tonight, so that's still well into that mild range. 13 for tomorrow. 12, though, on Sunday, and Sunday night, 0 degrees. A lot of places seeing frost on Sunday night. Monday, though, we've got sunshine, kick off the week, and a high of 11. Sebastian.
Thank you, Nick. Finally tonight, a GTA grassroots organization is launching a new initiative to help feed low-income breast cancer patients across Ontario. The Breast Cancer Support Fund's latest project is offering free, healthy, ready-to-eat dishes. Shannon Martin has the details.
You place your order, you pick the date you want it to come, and it shows up at your door. It is so much better than having to worry about what to cook. If I couldn't get off the couch to make myself food, at least I know she's eating something healthy. And same thing when I'm gonna eat, at least I know it's good stuff.
Just one thing she didn't have to stress about. The single mom has just finished 25 days straight of radiation for breast cancer.
I think most people just think, we have universal health care coverage and so everything's okay. And, aside from some medications that patients have to pay for, generally speaking, treatment is covered by provincial health care. But it's all of the other expenses, the extra travel back and forth to hospitals. There's even hospital parking. Sometimes that's really not very affordable either.
Donna Sheehan started the Breast Cancer Support Fund after her first diagnosis, when she realized many women were struggling with little practical support.
Despite the tens of millions of dollars raised in the name of breast cancer, there's a lot of women who struggle financially and are facing a crisis during the time that they're fighting for their lives. And so years ago, we saw a niche that needed to be filled because there just aren't enough resources in the community for people who are going through that. The majority of patients that we support are living below the poverty line during the time they're in treatment.
Part of how they're helping get food on the table is a new meal support program, a partnership with a province-wide food delivery service.
Right now, you're standing in the middle of our production kitchen located in Markham, Ontario. We use great organic ingredients. You know, we use a lot of substitutes to keep the calories low, to keep sodium low, fat low as well. I mean, a big reason of why myself and why others work in food is for that actual feeling of feeding people and providing nourishment and to make people's days easier. So especially those people who are undergoing medical treatment and are trying to juggle their regular lives with this diagnosis, it's a huge thing to deal with, and food should be the last thing that they have to worry about.
And for him, it's personal too. Last year, he lost his older brother to cancer.
And I knew the benefit of me giving meals to him, his partner, and even nursing staff, and kind of what load that would alleviate from them on a daily basis to just get easy access to healthy, nutritious food that they can warm up 2 minutes and have a nutritious meal ready to go.
The meal program is free for qualifying breast cancer patients. As for Alexandra, she recently enjoyed her final dish after getting some good news.
I just finished radiation last week. We got to ring the bell, so that was really, really fun.
So you're cancer-free?
Cancer-free as of right now, yes. So wonderful. And it's amazing that I keep thinking all I want to do is somehow down the road help other people, but I can understand at the same time when you go through it, the last thing you want to do is think anything about it again. So I can't imagine how hard it is for Donna and everybody who runs these programs to deal with people like me who are going through it, and it probably brings them back to their own experiences. So kudos to them, because I hope I can do that too.
What a story. And you can watch Shannon's full report on our Toronto this weekend. Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.